5 and yeah. So talk more about Gwen and Torchwood and Cardiff.
Yeah, well, Cardiff is apparently the nexus of uh, the rupture in time, I guess. So a lot of the future episodes are going to be very focused on Cardiff itself. Torchwood is centered at, well, there's several little Torchwoods, I guess, throughout the world, which they don't really talk about until maybe the second season of Torchwood. But one of the main ones is in Cardiff. And as a matter of fact, there's an episode coming up. Um, I'm not sure if you've passed it because I haven't seen season one in a while now. But I know there's going to be a couple of episodes coming up that take place in Cardiff where you will see the Torchwood building or the building that would be Torchwood headquarters. And Gwen is going to be found. She's actually a policewoman, and she's recruited to join Torchwood. And once she goes into Torchwood building, she freaks out at all this stuff it has because there's like all sorts of weird, freaky stuff that they catch because the rift opens all the time in Cardiff. So they catch all these alien creatures and weird objects, and they keep them away from the general public. So the events in the Dickens episode directly relate to Torchwood and what Torchwood means later on.
That's cool. I may have to go back and revisit that because I enjoyed that episode mostly as a kind of a zombie ghost story. I was a little bit worried. I'm like, oh, I get it. Dickens and ghosts, very funny.
Right.
It's,
Like,
it's Christmas. Oh, how droll. Like, oh, wonderful. And I was like, oh, okay, no, this is
it's
actually
different.
a whole kind of spooky story, and and it's not and intergalactic rifts and aliens who live in other dimensions and things like that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
So
I just love the concept of there being faults in time and space. Uh, I keep picturing the St. Andreas fault, like something's gonna come up to there. Like in terms of Earth, we think the kaiju are gonna come out from one of the faults.
yeah,
But what about space and time? What happens when you rip that fabric? Something's got to be there. Do we take a peek at another universe, or do all these things that are living in a void come out and they come get us? It's super fascinating, and it's kind of cool that it's centered anywhere else but the U.S. because it's always we're so obsessed with everything centering in New York City. It's refreshing that it's somewhere else now.
well, and you talked about the kind of uh, cultural imperialism of Earth being the center of everything. I mean, yeah, having America being the center of everything is uh, far more
That's getting
concerning.
old.
So yeah, it's good. Although one could make the same argument about uh, having it be for the British too. That
Right,
the sun never sets on the British Empire, even though that's hasn't been true for almost a century. But
right.
regardless, I I agree though that it's refreshing for our context, living
Mm.
especially in a place as jingoistic as Texas, to be to be outside of that. I generally do want to think of Austin as the bright center of the universe, and everything else being a little bit less enlightened. No offense to San Antonio,
Well,
you're you're pretty close.
we just don't care. We'll let you have it. Who cares?
I like San Antonio though. San
We have better
Antonio,
food. We have better
you're,
food.
you're the bigger, better city that's like technically like way better than Austin, but no one knows about it, and
You know what?
it
You know
doesn't
what?
have the marketing.
You know what I think about San Antonio? I think San Antonio's been playing the long game. They're doing an Al Pacino. They're doing a Godfather, where we're not saying much. The city's not saying much, but slowly we're getting bigger than Dallas already. We're probably going to end up getting. I don't know if we're ever going to get bigger than Houston, but let's say we do. It's all going to happen at once, and boom, all the other cities are going to suffer. San Antonio's economy is going to skyrocket, and everybody's going to want to be here, and we're going to be like, screw you guys.
It's a great city,
It
and
won't happen, but still, it would be kind of cool.
I look at the slate of people running to be your mayor versus the slate of people who were running to be Austin's mayor this last election. And I'm like, man, I wish I lived in San Antonio because like three of those people running would make excellent mayors,
Yeah,
and
Leticia
one of
Vanderpute.
those will probably win. So
Yeah, I think Vanderpute will win.
I
She's
love her.
spunky. She's spunky, man. I
Yeah,
like her. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I like her. I like Tommy Adkison. I like oh geez, it's just it's hard to replace the Castros though. I love those guys are great. So yeah, you can't make wrong choices. Doctor Who podcast Who Virgin wholeheartedly endorses Letitia Vandepute for for mayor of San
We're
Antonio.
shitting for Democrats now.
Oh, sure. I'll shill for some Republicans when I find ones that I like.
We find
There's
the stain in
Republicans
it.
that I like. There not many in Texas, but there's Republicans that I like.
I don't think there's
So,
any in Texas. God, they're just insane, man.
uh, there used to be my old senator before Jeff Wentworth. He was an okay guy. I liked him. Now it's Donna Campbell, and she scares the bejesus
God,
out of me
she, what? Oh, dude. Like, seriously, I'm really disturbed with her sometimes. Not sometimes, all the time.
all the
Just
time.
the crap that comes out of her mouth, man. She's a doctor?
Yep,
Like, are you kidding me? Like,
not that kind of doctor.
ew.
So this rant about
Yeah,
politics.
sorry.
No, we went way off there. I don't think we've ever started talking about politics before. But uh, let's take a little break, recenter ourselves so we don't talk about politics anymore, and then we'll come back and I've got four movie reviews to talk about, and we'll talk some TV, Agents of Shield, and Daredevil coming up. Uh, all that and more on the other side of these commercials.
Is it gonna be sponsored by my gluttony?
Oh, if you want to, sure. I think one of them should be sponsored by Easter candy too, because
That's true.
and I will also talk about the I bought some awesome Star Wars figures
Yeah, I
for
saw that. I saw that on
yeah,
Facebook.
I know I was very excited about
You
those.
bought them for the kids?
Yeah, well, it was funny. They were sitting right here on the couch, and they totally didn't even notice them. And I'm like, you guys, you didn't even notice the toys that the Easter Bunny brought you. Oh, oh, we didn't. And I'm like, because they weren't in your Easter basket. You totally didn't.
Yeah, when we went to Disney World, I took Julia to this little shop where you can make your own R2 unit,
Oh,
and they're miniature. They're like about maybe this big. Where's the camera? Like that big.
yeah.
They're cool, but she kind of didn't want to. She's like, okay, I guess I'll do it because you want to do it. And I'm like, shut up. I'm going to do my own. You do your own. I was really excited about it. So I got mine all done. Um, and she was working on her. She's like, Daddy, I don't know how to do it. And I'm like, well, if you put this part here, you make it look at this color. So she's like, okay, whatever. I paid for it. And then she's like, give me my R2. And I'm like, you turd. You just spent the whole time saying how much you didn't like it or you didn't care about it. And I was secretly thinking, this is going to be mine. It's going to be part of my collection. But no, almost immediately, she's like, my R2. Like, ah.
Kids. It's so funny what kids will fixate on.
I took it from her anyway, later on, while she was asleep.
That's right.
It's in my collection.
That's totally right. That's why you buy toys for your kids
So
so
you
you
can
can
keep
play with them. Yep, that's
exactly.
right.
That's
So
parenting.
welcome back to the New Virgin podcast, where we're talking about parenting. We're going to talk about TV, and our discussion of TV is brought to you by Easter candy. Um, I am grateful for the holiday of Easter and the fact that Jesus died for my sins so that I can eat chocolate and jelly beans and have Easter baskets because there is nothing greater than Easter candy. Uh, just
I
absolutely love it.
I'll have to agree. I mean, I'm glad that Jesus died for me so that I could eat malted chocolate robin's eggs
Yes.
that only show up for 1 month out of the year. What the hell, man?
Yeah, exactly.
They're so
And
great.
and
See,
and
if J-Man hadn't died for us, I would have never had robin's eggs.
and Cadbury cream eggs and Cadbury caramel eggs and as I posted on Facebook, my wife specifically asked, don't buy too much candy because we don't want to sugar the kids up, but buy toys. And so she said, go to Target and look through for, you know, Easter toys. And I'm like, these are dumb. I'm not buying any of these. I went to the actual toy aisle and they had these special edition Star Wars packs, one for each of the movies, with four four toys in each of them, and for 15.99. And I'm like, this is what I'm getting. These there was an episode one pack, an episode two, and episode three, and then there was no episode four, A New Hope pack, but there was an Empire Strikes Back and a Return of the Jedi pack. So I got those two, and we split them all up. My kids knew that the Boba Fett was mine,
You
and
can't touch
yeah, and the Bosk and the IG-88 also became mine. So I have three awesome new bounty hunters. But it was crazy what my kids decided to gravitate towards. Uh, Jackson wanted the Bespin Luke because he had the blue lightsaber, as
it.
opposed to the Return of the Jedi Luke with the green lightsaber. He wasn't having any of that. So he did that, and the Scout Trooper from
Return
Return
of
of
the
the
Jedi.
Jedi, and then Andy wanted Darth Vader and Wicket, um, so that she could make Wicket fight Darth Vader, and I'm like, that's an interesting thing. She was also upset that there were no girls
Ah,
in any of the Star Wars packs, and I'm like, I'm right there with you. There should
Leia
be
or Mon
Princess Leia.
Mothma.
Yeah, there's no Princess Leia in any of those six packages. In all six movie packages, there is one female. There's a Padme in the episode one,
Huh.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
know.
remember having the Mon Mothma action figure when I was a kid. Pretty,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
yeah. I had a
It-
Mon
it-
Mothma. I had some other ones too. The other thing that's taking up a bunch of my time is this Topps Star Wars trading card app. Have you seen this?
I haven't, and well, I saw it on your feed, and I kind of want to get in on that.
I keep posting about it because I keep getting these great cards. It's stupid. It's trading cards for on your phone. They're little electronic things. They don't mean anything, but
It's
it's
fun, right?
it is. And it's funny like what cards I want to keep and what ones I don't want to give away. Um, but they've got a good selection. So I've got all of the there's two different Mon Mothma cards. There's like three different Padme cards. There's a handful of Princess Leia cards. Um, I got a vintage Princess Leia card. I'm not parting with that. Andy made me promise, like, don't you we can't trade that one away for anything. I'm like, yeah, I think so. I think that vintage Leia is sticking with us. So
Maybe
yeah,
for a vintage Ben Shaw Vader.
no, nope, nope,
Really?
nope. Maybe I can't. You can't beat Boba Fett with me. So maybe
Wow.
for a Boba Fett, but it would have to be a pretty dang sweet Boba Fett card for me to get rid of Leia. My first love, Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia.
Wow. That's your first love.
Adorable. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about movies. I saw four movies this week. That is a record even for me. So I'd like to thank everyone who was a part of that for putting together those screenings. I saw The Woman in Gold, While We're Young, Danny Collins, and Furious 7. So I don't know how we want to go up and down these. I won't spend too long on most of them. Do you have a preference? Should we
Uh,
go with the big release first and talk about Fast and Furious, or should
I
we
don't
talk about the
I don't
the,
really care
the
for Fast
artsy
and
fartsy ones?
Furious or any of that stuff. So let's just let's rip out the band-aid and go with that first.
Okay. You know, I have never seen a Fast and Furious movie before in my life. Not a second of one, but I had some friends in town, and they said, "We're going to go to a midnight movie at the Alamo. Will you come?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I will stand by the official review that went up at Big Shiny Robot from my good buddy Adam Sithbot, who he gave it something ridiculous, an 8 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10,
Lies,
and he just absolutely loved it.
lies.
Um,
I
on a
can't believe that.
scale of the most ridiculous things I have ever seen, it is definitely a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. It's, it is just stupid and ridiculous, but how I kept thinking about it is like it however you feel about Doritos. A Dorito is what it is. It is a corn chip. It's got some artificial flavoring on it. But I believe that there is probably out there, through some manufacturing defect, a bag that you could eat it and it would be like, this is the most amazing bag of Doritos I have ever had in my life. And I feel like that's probably what Fast and Furious 7 is. It's
Hmm.
not it's still a Dorito, but it is the highest, most like best conceived, best executed version of what it could possibly be ever. It's
Well,
absolutely ridiculous.
first
Um,
of all, Doritos are awesome. So your analogy is lost on me. Uh,
but there's people who love, exactly. There's people who love Doritos and there's people who don't.
I don't
So,
want to know those people. Like those people deserve to be taken out back to the shed and shot.
oh,
Uh, well, answer me a question. How many times does Vin Diesel bring up family?
oh, like, oh my gosh! If it were a drinking game, you'd be wasted.
We did drunk in 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of that. Lots of talking about this is our family, and there were some other really cheesy things.
Beyond cheesy. It's
You
beyond so beyond cheesy.
They had to have found like a box or something for Jason Statham to stand on, like
Because he looked
because
huge.
they try because that guy's tiny, and
Yeah.
like he's fighting The Rock in this scene, and they make it look like The Rock doesn't have like 150 pounds and like a foot on this guy, and it's like I'm supposed to believe that Jason Statham and The Rock had a knockdown drag out fight and that Statham actually like won that fight.
First of
Because
all, if
no.
you don't believe that, you need to watch The Transporter.
Okay, I love the transporter.
Second, yeah, I did too. Well, I like the first one, and then it just
Mhm.
got stupid. Uh, I see the Furious franchise a lot like the Cranked franchise. It's just stupid, stupid, sometimes fun. And
Yep.
I've already read a couple of articles where people say, "No, seriously, this could be the movie of the year," and I feel like telling them, "Shut up, just shut up already." No, it's not, and in no universe is it that good. Uh, ugh. Tim League wrote a post on Facebook saying about
Yep.
how he thinks it's genuinely good. I'm like, there's cars flying in and out of buildings. No, it's not. Stop
What
it.
what
Stop
I
it.
what I wanted to say was you will believe a car can fly.
No,
To
no.
rip off the 78 Superman movie, and then there's that other great part, like right in the movie, Paul Walker's like, Cars don't fly. Cars don't fly.
Oh, now he's saying that.
It's ridiculous. It is
I
just,
would believe it if it was the General Lee, but since General Lee doesn't show up on that film, I refuse to
oh my
believe this.
gosh. Since it's not a, yeah, a redneck based
A redneck
76
suit up from '76.
Charger. Yeah. Just about, you know, if if you want to if you want to turn off your brain for 2 hours and see ridiculous stunts and beautiful explosions and things that could never, ever, ever happen, then Furious 7 is absolutely your movie. However, if you are offended by things such as breaking the laws of physics, this movie may not be for you.
You know,
It is
it's
just absolutely ridiculous.
it's fair to say, if you want to have fun and just turn your brain off, go watch this. It's fair to say that. But to say that it's an 8 or even a 7, I mean, come on. Those movies are a 5 at best. And that's not a bad thing. For a movie like that to be a 5 is actually quite high.
Yeah,
But there's no way it goes above that. It's just,
yeah.
no. They're just dumb.
So the best thing that I can say about Furious 7 is that's your next Star Trek movie because the director of Furious 7 is directing the next Star Trek movie, and if the way that he shot things and the way he put that together makes me excited that we will have a very different sort of Star Trek movie, and knowing that it's um, Shaun of the Dead, why can't I remember Simon Pegg,
Time Peg.
writing the script, and possibly Idris Elba coming in as a Klingon villain makes me excited that we could see something very different and very interesting for a Star Trek movie. So I was I was fine with it. I had a good time, um, but it wasn't anything more than the apotheosis of a bag of Doritos for
Hey,
me.
enough of the
So
Doritos, dude. Like, seriously. Getting a little
I'm
pissed here,
sorry
man.
I'm sorry that that is offensive to you, but
Those freaking Doritos, man. I didn't
well,
get it, fat.
then let me. I don't know. Let's choose another food product that isn't quite as precious to you. Like I don't know, like street tacos,
Persimmon.
or
Oh, no.
I
Street
don't know.
tacos. I'm gonna slap you, dude.
No, I'm picking things that are like neutral, that are like the people will generally be like these are good things because if you look at the Furious movies, people go and see these in droves. They make
Yeah.
hundreds of millions of dollars. People generally like them, so there's got to be something to it. And so I'm not saying like this is a gourmet meal. This is something that is like a superfood that's going to cleanse your body of toxins. I'm saying that as like mainstream, middle of the road, gonna sock it to you because you're a good American and you like this stuff.
Look, a lot of people go
That's
watch
what.
Resident Evil 2. It doesn't mean there's anything remotely good about them. Sometimes people just watch crap. Look at the scary movies, the Wayans brothers scary movies. Why anyone would waste any amount of their time watching any of those movies is quite beyond me. But they rake it in, man. I don't know why.
Yeah. So, although I liked the first one, I did not like any of the others. But there was something funny about the first one. I don't know. Um,
It never did anything for me.
yeah. On to the artsy fartsies. Let's start with the woman in gold. I mentioned that there's a nerd hook in most of these, and the biggest nerd hook here is that Ryan Reynolds is in this movie and
Deadpool.
playing a lawyer, and we got to see some other cool stuff from Deadpool this week, thanks to the best April Fool's bit that I've seen. This attention, this is how April Fools should be dealt with. People should not try and do anything serious or try and pull the wool over anybody's eyes. However, if you've got a franchise like Deadpool, You should absolutely put out a video reassuring everyone that your movie is going to be rated R, where Deadpool kills AC Slater. Like
That was cool.
that's what you should do. That was the best when he kills Mario Lopez and he's like, "Don't worry, Zach. Slater can't hurt you anymore." I'm like, "Oh, this movie's going to be great. This is exactly what I want." So it was great that I saw The Woman in Gold the day before April Fool's. So it was nice to be able to think about that while I was thinking about it. The Woman in Gold tells the story uh, a of an Austrian woman now living in Los Angeles in the 1990s, who, upon the death of her sister, realizes that some valuable works of art that her family owned in Austria in the 1930s and 40s before the Nazi occupation um, had been illegally taken from her family and placed in art museums in Austria. And so she begins a decades-long crusade to try and get these pieces of art back. And the government of Austria is having nothing to do with it because they said these were given to us by your ancestor, and she said no, they weren't. And one of these pieces of art, the Woman in Gold, is considered the Austrian Mona Lisa,
Huh.
a very highly regarded piece of art. And she said, "You may look at that and see a great piece of art. I see my great aunt, and the woman who used to braid my hair and tell me stories." And so uh, it's it's an interesting story, and they take it all the way to the Supreme Court of the U.S. And there's a lot there. Um, it is unfortunately a little bit of a dry legal drama, and they try and make it more interesting than it actually is by interspersing it with scenes of her and her family trying to escape the Nazis in 1930s Austria, which is harrowing, but is not done as well as, say, like Hitchcock's Torn Curtain, something like that. It's it's good, but it's a little bit uneven, and it's a little bit heavy-handed with some of the messaging that essentially, if you support if you support Austria having these pieces of art, then you're essentially a Nazi collaborator, and it's like, whoa,
Slow down. Slow roll.
you're laying it on pretty thick there. I get what they're saying, and I get some of the messaging. Um, Ryan Reynolds actually gets to do quite a bit in this movie, though. For the most part, he's very buttoned up, and he's very, he's a lawyer. He's kind of boring, but there's some scenes where, like, he goes to a Holocaust memorial in Austria and is very deeply moved by this, because apart from being a lawyer, he's also this woman, Helen Mirren's uh, cousin of some sort, and so he also had uh, great grandparents and so on that were killed in the Holocaust. So it was, I think it's important to remember these things and remember them in perspective. Um, I felt like this might have been a little bit overwrought. So um, if you're a fan of art history, um, if you are a fan of Holocaust movies and artsy movies, if you're a fan of Ryan Reynolds and Helen Mirren, and you'd like to see a lot of playful banter between those two, go see this movie. 6 out of 10. It's pretty good.
So was it based on real events then?
Yes, yes,
Okay, so
absolutely.
this actually happened.
Yeah, this is absolutely. Well, it isn't a 100% true story, but this absolutely did happen. This was a
Well,
real painting in a real family,
that kind
and
of stuff is right in my wheelhouse, so I'll end up watching that.
yeah, so definitely go check it out. It's not the most entertaining part. In fact, the first third drags a little bit, but it picks up, and despite being a little bit uneven and being a little bit heavy-handed, it's a good story. And great performances by Mirren and Reynolds. So really enjoyed that one. The next one, the most surprising movie of the week that I saw, is called Danny Collins. Um, Brace
Al
yourself,
Pacino,
Mark.
Al Pacino,
Al
John Lennon.
Pacino. Al Pacino is an aging pop star. Think somewhere along the lines of like Neil Diamond or maybe a member of the Eagles or Barry Manilow. Someone who has a great back catalog, can still fill up a mid-sized stadium of uh, septuagenarian stars who love his songs, but is kind of in a rut and drinks too much, does drugs, has a girlfriend half his age, um, and then so Mark, if you found out, if you were in this position and found out that at the age of 20, John Lennon had written you a letter when you were 20 and it had never gotten delivered to you,
Oh
and
God.
now 40 years later your
Wow.
manager finds it and delivers it to you, and it basically says, I heard what you said about being worried about fame and wealth and how it corrupts the artistic process, and I disagree with you, but I think we should talk.
God.
Here's my phone number. Call me. Call me. Love, John and Yoko.
Oh wow.
And this is based on a true story. That
This
part of
actually happened.
that part of the
Um,
story actually happened, except for him being the actual guy was kind of he had a couple of hits, but he was a folk singer, didn't do much. This guy's more famous. So uh, upon getting this from his manager, who is played by Christopher Plummer, and his Plummer is absolutely amazing in this. They He has this kind of existential crisis, and he packs up from his house in L.A. And he goes to New Jersey to find this son who was the result of a one night stand 40 years ago, and try and reconnect with him because he feels all sorts of guilt. He also wants to start writing his own music because he hasn't done that in years, and he's just been playing off his back catalog. Um, and he wants to be creative again. So, and his son, played by Bobby Cannavale, who is absolutely amazing. This is the best thing he's done since The Station Agent, like 15 years ago. So he's amazing in this. Um, he tries to reconnect with him. He's having nothing to do with it. His wife is played by Jennifer Garner. Um, they've got another kid on the way and a young daughter with severe ADHD. He's like, well, let me see if I can help out with that. They're like, no, f you. We don't need any of your money. We don't need any of your help. Go away. Um, he's so he there's some interesting things going on in there. There's a lot more to the movie. The hotel manager at the Hilton he's staying at is played by Annette Bening, and there's
it's a heavy
Al,
cast already. Yeah.
yeah, Al Pacino's trying to get with her, and she's really cute. She's like not having anything to do with it because she's very professional and very buttoned up. And the desk clerk is played by Melissa Benoist, who's going to be Supergirl, which is
Oh,
really funny. I'm like, hey, it's Marley from Glee. Oh, she's going to be Supergirl. She's in it for like 2 seconds, but she's still in there. But yeah, a really great cast. Really, really, really great performances by all of these people, and the song that he sings is just it just gets in your head, and because they sing it a bunch of times, it sounds probably purposefully so, exactly like Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond, and it's great. There's a lot of musing about the artistic process and family. It's got a kind of open-ended ending, which is nice. Not everything's wrapped up into a tiny little bow. Life goes on, and the entire soundtrack is John Lennon songs.
Oh,
So
perfect.
yeah, it's really great. I can't recommend this enough to, to someone like you, to someone like me, um, who loves the Beatles, who loves music, who thinks about these things, who likes just good drama and good character drama. There's a lot here. So that I give a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. I don't know where I am on that, but
Cool.
it was
Does,
probably the best thing I saw all week.
does Pacino break out from his usual, lazy?
Yes,
He does.
and
Okay.
and I was like, I seriously wasn't gonna go to this movie because I hadn't forgiven Al Pacino from Jack and Jill, and I'm like, I'm sick of you. You haven't put in a good performance since Glengarry Glen Ross, and I'm
Oh,
seeing
I
you, Al
love that
Pacino,
movie.
just picking up a paycheck. And it's like, no, in this one he actually cares about this, or at least he is acting enough that he cares about it. So um, I'm I take that back. Pacino's done other good things since Glengarry Glen Ross. I'm being
Mm,
overly harsh.
like he hammed it up in Any Given Sunday.
Yeah,
Devil's Advocate was horrible. I
yeah,
thought so. He wasn't even looking at the camera. I mean, it looked like he was looking elsewhere. Like he didn't even care.
yeah.
It just
No,
looked really lazy.
this was really good, and there's a lot. There's a scene like at the very beginning of the movie where he's going through and they're like doing his makeup and they're applying hair dye to his gray roots and everything and getting him ready for it, and it's like he is definitely aging here, and he's not afraid to show that. So
Man, how much would that hurt? I mean, if you like, for example, I idolize John Lennon. I really do. I know he had his faults. He had plenty of faults,
sure,
but I loved his music. His lyrics are so poetic, and I've read about his life, so I know a lot of the crap he went through. So I empathize with him. He was just such an interesting person that I wish I would have had the time to have met him, maybe have a meal with him, just chew the fat and talk about everything from the most meaningless thing in life to what life means. And you could have that kind of conversation with him.
yeah,
So like, how badly would it hurt for a person like that, like myself, to find out 30 years later I could have had that moment. I
I
could
know,
have had that moment, and it was robbed from me. It was taken from me, and I can never have that back ever. He's
yeah,
gone now.
yeah.
And man, that would hurt so bad.
It would, especially when you think about, man, he wanted to work with me. He wanted to
Right.
collaborate with me. It's like he and Bowie worked together and
Exactly. You would have the Bowen moment. Yeah.
they did one of the best songs that either of them ever wrote in Fame. That's such an amazing song and such an amazing amalgam of, so like you've got to feel like, man, that could have been me.
Yeah.
Um,
And the
but
problem is that with people like that, they already have, a lot of artistic. I shouldn't say all artistic people, but a lot of artistic people already have this void that they're trying to fill. So imagine going through something like that. That just the void gets deeper and bigger
yeah.
because it'll. Oh, that would be so horrible.
Yeah, so this rung very true to me, and Pacino really does a good job of not hamming it up too much, but also being very heartfelt, and like he doesn't he has everything that he needs, but he doesn't have what he truly needs, and so he's going looking for all of those things. So it's really nice.
Cool.
The final film. A couple of weeks ago, I was lamenting on Facebook, like, where are the movies about? middle-aged couples who have been
Oh,
together for a while,
remember that.
and not like it's not they fall in love, it's they've been together for a while and they're still really happy and there's still some romance there. Where's that movie? Well, that movie is While We're Young. Um,
Mm,
there's a lot more to it, but um, this is Ben Stiller, and Ben Stiller is a documentarian, and he's been working on this documentary for over a decade. And one day, while he's married to Naomi Watts,
okay.
whose father is also a very famous documentarian. Um, and she produces all of his documentaries. So one day in his college class that he teaches, he meets a young couple played by Adam Driver, who's going to be the bad guy in the new Star Wars movie, and
Darboa.
Amanda Seyfried, and they're a young married couple, and they want to essentially hang out with them and like talk more about making documentaries. Adam Driver happens to make documentaries, and he's got a great idea for one, and he wants to run it by him and be like, "Hey, can you help me out with this?" And um, there's a uh, there's this weird relationship that opens up between this very 40 something couple and very 20 something couple. And the thing that I really liked about both of these is it felt like it kind of took a lot of the piss out of both the millennial generation and
Mm,
Generation X, and it's this great like clash of cultures um, between the two generations. You and me were like both on the cusp
right.
between. We're not really Gen Xers. We're not really millennials. We're like right in that in between spot. Um, but um, but Ben Stiller and Naomi Watts definitely are Gen Xers, and Adam Driver and Amanda Seyfried definitely are. And Adam Driver and Amanda Seyfried are definitely like millennial hipsters. Like Naomi Watts makes this great quote like their apartment looks like it's been furnished with things that we threw away. And like um, it's in New York. They live in Brooklyn. They like go to weird things, and the I loved this movie. It was really great. I won't give away the twist, but there's something more going on with what Adam Driver's doing, and the way he plays it, it makes me very interested to see him as the bad guy in Star Wars, because I think
Cool.
this shows again why he might make a very interesting bad guy, because he's kind of smarmy, he's kind of a jerk in a lot of things, and makes me happy about that. The one thing that I wish this movie had come with was a trigger warning for vomit. Um, there's a scene where they take them uh, where Adam Driver and Amanda Seyfried invite them to this spiritual ceremony, and
Mm.
uh, they're like, "Oh, well, we drink this drink, and the yogi chants some things, and then we throw up all of our toxins and bad things, and it's like 5 minutes of everyone like getting high and like vomiting into plastic buckets. And so I'm sitting there at the Alamo Draft House. It's dinner time. I ordered myself a burger and some wings, and I was sitting there, and then like I can handle blood no problem, but as soon as there's vomit, I am done. I am done, and I'm just like, and I had to like I almost thought about leaving the theater a couple of times because I thought I was gonna lose it, but I did not. So that would have been very bad. If it had not been a press screening and I hadn't been worried about writing a review for it, I might have left. But um, I was really worried about missing something.
It reminds me of that Family Guy episode where everybody's puking.
Yeah, exactly. See, like
One of the
that, I
funniest things
can't handle.
ever. I love that.
I can't handle. I have to change the channel on that. There's like very
No
few things.
way.
Yeah, puke, but like that just like I can't do it. Blood, no problem. Barf, can't
Yeah.
do it.
For me, it all depends. For me, it's more about the smell. My daughter's thrown up on me. I don't know how many times. I don't even know why I bother keeping shirts. Because she was about a year old, she just kept on puking on me. It was a ritual. So it doesn't really bother me. But sometimes there's throw up that smells really, I don't know, like acrid, I guess would be
Yeah,
the word to use. And I can't stand that because it lingers.
yeah,
It lingers, man. It doesn't matter how much spray you put on the area, it still smells bad. So that, if anything, that gets to me. But if someone throws up near me, I'm not going to be part of the chain.
yeah,
I think my stomach is strong enough for that.
yeah. Anyway, while we're young, 7 out of 10, loved it. People should, especially if you enjoy either making fun of hipsters or making fun of millennials or making fun of Gen Xers or Gen Xers who are trying to pretend that they're young and cool.
You're still young.
Um, but it was nice to see. It was really nice to see Ben Stiller and Naomi Watts as like a still a relatively young couple, still in love with each other, still very happy with their lives, and you don't get that very often in movies, and that's nice to see.
Cool.
So I like that.
I'm definitely interested in the Al Pacino John Lennon one. That's what I'm more than likely going to see. And the Golden Girl thing with Helen Mirren, I'm more than likely going to end up watching that.
Yeah, I think these are all movies that deserve to be seen for various reasons. Um, if you're lucky enough to have them in a theater near you, great. They'll probably also come out um, Netflix video fairly soon. It's unfortunate that there isn't a better way to get um, a lot of these out to us. So that's movies for the week. That's a heck of a lot of movies.
A lot of movies, yeah. Covered a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. So on to TV. Us talking about TV is brought to us by Mark's Dinner.
Which
Mark,
was an enchilada, two soft tacos, and a crispy taco, and a nice heaping pile of shame.
what? That sounds like
I
a
still,
great dinner minus the shame.
I still haven't fully digested it. I'm gonna have to
Wow.
stay up till like 3 in the morning doing sit-ups.
Oh wow. That sounds tasty though, minus the shame. So let's talk TV. Agents of Shield. I did get caught up on it. So um, this is there's obviously a lot really cool happening. Uh, why don't you take us through some of it, Mark?
Right, cool. So, one of the best parts that came out this past episode was we got a look as to what happened after we found out Hydra infiltrated Shield, and Shield was fighting back. That was the genesis of the splitting of Shield in terms of real Shield versus Coulson's Shield. So I really appreciate the flashbacks were awesome, and it informs you of why Mac and Bobby are working so hard and so covertly against Coulson. But what I really like is that the last Avengers movie wasn't just an event and everybody, fought and we won the day and that's it. There are consequences to what happened, and they reverberate throughout. We're going to speak a little bit about Daredevil later on, but that same day, the consequences of that day led to what we're going to be seeing on Daredevil. So Avengers keeps getting bigger. The consequences of Avengers keeps getting bigger, and I really love that because Marvel's really tying things up perfectly. Um, so we're left with everybody pretty much caught. by New Shield. Now, what are we calling them?
Yeah, I
Code
think New
Shield
Shield
or
is fine.
New
Yeah.
Shield? Okay. Everybody's pretty much apprehended by New Shield. Agent May was able to do her magic and help Coulson escape. And so Coulson's going to try to work his magic to get back at his team. And we also found out that Daisy is gone, and I guess she's
Yeah.
going to be taught how to use her powers. Uh, the gloves she was wearing, are those going to be the gauntlets? I don't know. Maybe you don't think so?
I don't know. I don't I mean I don't think they're going to be. I mean they could be, but I feel like whatever inhuman technology they've got wherever they've taken her is probably far superior to um,
What Simmons can.
what Simmons was able to come up with. She doesn't know what she's dealing with, and so those were designed to impede her abilities, uh, not to enhance and focus them, which is what I think they will probably do. And so it made me kind of sad because that's what their instinct was. It's like, well, we've just got to stop this. And if we just stop these things from happening, then it's going to protect everyone. And it's like, no, 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 no. You don't tell her that your powers are the problem and try and turn them off. You need to find a way to focus them and keep everyone safe.
Right.
Like that's the yeah. So I think it's interesting and hopefully I wonder when she'll be back. How many episodes she'll be away, or if any episodes at all.
Right.
The thing I really liked about the flashback episodes was, that one moment where they're like, "Yeah, those were my orders, but we don't have to follow them anymore."
Anymore.
And like that's the difference between what they're doing. It's not hierarchical. It's it's not democratic, but it's more open. And a couple of weeks ago you were talking about this on the podcast of maybe it's the difference between the DoD and the CIA, and one's more clandestine and one's more
Right.
and I think you were exactly right. And again, you called it that this is what they're trying to do, what they're trying to be with this. So um, interesting now with Coulson and Hunter against the world, what they're gonna come up with.
Yeah, it's also extremely interesting how incredibly naive New Shield is, um, because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're going to open Pandora's box, and they don't have the resources or the tools to contain it.
Yeah,
Colton does.
yeah,
So I want to see what happens when Pandora's box opens, or if it's going to open at all. I think it will, and I think uh, Adama, I forget his name on the show.
yeah. He's
Uh,
still a Dama to me. I don't know.
Hey, Adama, yeah. I think he's going to realize that he's taking on too much, and when his back's going to be against the wall. And I'm thinking maybe Colson's going to save his ass at the end.
Well, I mean, it doesn't seem like either of them are necessarily that well resourced. I mean, Shield doesn't seem like Shield anymore. They're
Right.
not everywhere. They're not. They don't have everyone. They're split into all of these factions, and there's just no way to rebuild them into what they were before under Fury. And maybe they shouldn't be. So I don't know.
But the fact that they're operating under the premise that we'll just kill every enhanced human, because that's what the other agent that was with Bobby, he meant to kill Daisy.
Yeah,
So I mean, that's their solution. We'll just get rid of everybody who's enhanced. That's incredibly naive, man, and it shows you just how much they don't know. Because Colston knows that there's a lot of enhanced uh, people out there, and you have to approach them a different way. Then you can't. It's not conventional warfare anymore.
yeah,
And the fact that New Shield wants to do that, I mean, I think they're biting off more than they can chew, and
yeah.
it's gonna end up ruining a lot of things.
Well, and it's funny because I mean, that was kind of the aim of Hydra too, with having Operation Insight, and
Mhm.
just take out everyone who's a threat.
Right. Oh,
Okay, we're still
yeah.
here, and it still says live. So
Oh.
yeah,
Right. So, yeah. So this, I guess we can segue to Daredevil.
Daredevil. So I full warning. Um, I think next week we're probably only going to talk about Doctor Who and Daredevil. Um, Daredevil starts on Friday, on April 10th. If I can get away with taking a sick day on Friday, I might, or taking a half day just to get a jump start on it. But I think the majority of the weekend will be taken up by
Yeah.
watching Daredevil.
I hope my boss doesn't listen to this podcast, and I'm pretty sure she doesn't. But I have a doctor's appointment. I didn't say at what time, so I was able to get the entire day off. So I'm
Nice.
definitely going to be daredeviling all day.
That's beautiful. So that's really great. I'm hoping that we get what we want from this. Now you mentioned just a minute ago something cool that you read about this.
Yeah. Yes. One of the articles I read, when was that? On Thursday, is that Daredevil is going to Kingpin, which is played by Vincent D'Onofrio.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Am I saying it right?
D'Onofrio. I've always said
D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio. Yeah.
Vinny. Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, Kingpin's rise to power is a direct consequence of the events that happened in Avengers. When Hydra went into Shield and Shield went down, Kingpin's rise to power was a direct response to that. So they're going to be tying it in to the Marvel universe. So I initially thought that Daredevil was going to be its own thing. I wasn't even sure what era of in history this was going to take place in, but apparently it's going to be contemporary and it's tied into the events. So it's going to be real interesting to see how Kingpin plays into Marvel Cinematic Universe, and if we may or may not see him at some point, either in Ultron or maybe Civil War, or he's going to show up somewhere, and I'm pretty excited about that. I can't wait till we see the first few episodes of Daredevil to see how it all connects.
Yeah, that's super interesting to me, especially with Civil War, because Daredevil could have a really important part to play within that. Although I think that what's his name, Mark Dagatis, is that who's playing
No,
Daredevil?
it's the Irish dude from Boardwalk. Hold on.
What's his name? Um,
Charlie
yeah,
something.
yeah. I'm pretty sure Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I swear I read something with him where he said that he was likely not going to be in Civil War.
Mhm.
So I don't know about that. Um,
Well,
I
then again, he's not a writer, is he?
no, no, it just means they haven't approached him necessarily. So who knows? Uh, yeah, we'll see uh, we'll see what they end up doing with that. I think it would make a lot of sense for them to bring him in a Civil War storyline because he's got a lot to lose from mandatory superhero registration. Because the great thing about Daredevil is what he's doing is obviously so patently illegal. Um, Tony Stark can get away with it because whatever is going on, he can hide behind
He's
Stark Industries lawyers and
he's the 1%.
yeah, and he can kind of get away with it. Um, Captain America works for the U.S. government. Um, Thor is a